My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Christiani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I'm joined by the lovely Jeni Archer. So she is a professional witch and a spiritual alchemist. She helps clients find their most empowered sacred selves through both the conscious and unconscious minds and guides them to hear their own inner wisdom. When they no longer need her, she knows that she has done her job. So a big welcome to the show, Jeni.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And I feel that your bio doesn't even capture half of what you do, because I know you do a lot of different things. You got to work on that, Jeni. But I know you also do work with auras, and you do work with the psychological mind, and you do so many other things. But how did you come to this point of being a professional witch? What was your journey to get there?
So I was a very weird kid in the American South growing up in the 80s. And I could always hear and see things and understand things and know things that it didn't seem strange to me. But the more you talk as you grow up and people are looking at you funny, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that in public. So it kind of drove me to the bowels of the library. And I was raised very religious. I had a very happy childhood, but it was very religious, um, evangelical Christian. And that just never made sense to me. I have since learned that I have autism and ADHD, so it just kind of bounced off of me, I guess, the whole religion thing, because it didn't make any sense. So I started doing research, and I found words and understanding of the things that were happening to me, and that kind of led me down the path of studying all kinds of religions and spiritual paths, and this is what resonates and feels the most authentic to me.
Yeah, and I feel that that's always a challenge growing up with all those religious inputs and the cultural expectations, especially south of America. I can imagine it was quite strong. That's the word I want to use. And coming from that, I say a lot of us have those witch wounds. So when you're stepping into your full self of becoming a professional witch, and then juggling the whole, I want to say, Bible Belt, that whole like kind of energy and that pushback. And I've had other guests on the show who they've like stepped out of that and they find it quite challenging to dissemble their beliefs, whereas you were there the whole time going, what are you talking about? Like this is how it is,
Yes.
So I could
Yes.
imagine it would have
Yeah.
been such an interesting role, like as a child, like you said, realizing that you don't, because kids have no filters. That's why I love working with kids.
No.
They don't have, yeah.
No. Yeah. And the things that I would say, like the people that I could sense, or like there was this thing that visited me when I was a child that I found out later visits children across the world until they're about 9. Like all these children see the same thing. I never knew that. Um, but the way I was raised, they're like, it's a demon. I'm like, yeah, but it's not though. So you're wrong, and I'm just gonna let you be over there, and I'm gonna do my thing over here. So, like, I think the autism was a superpower there because I just knew they were wrong. So I wasn't hurt by it. I just didn't follow what they said.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my background's as a speech pathologist, and most of my caseload were children with
Mm,
autism spectrum disorder.
mhm.
And actually, I want to say it was 90% of my caseload. But the interesting thing
Yeah.
was, most of them could see things beyond the veil, and it was only once I stepped into my gifts that I could see it as well. And I'd say to the
Mhm.
parents, your grandma, your mother's here. And they're like, I remember this one client and they were just in tears because they're like, we knew it. We knew she was with her. Like they just needed that confirmation. I was like, oh yeah, she's definitely
Yes.
watching her, because half the time I track
That's
the spirits with the kids, right? Like I'm there watching them as well. And the parents are like, what are they looking at? And I'm like, well, how do we have this
oh, yeah.
conversation?
Yeah.
Have you found that as well? That a lot of people, especially people with autism, tend to see more and understand more than what, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some studies coming out now that are showing that we actually have a higher level of DMT in our brains. So things that people will take, the active ingredient in ayahuasca, right? That activates the connections and the neurons in the brain and gives you that God experience. Autists have a higher level of that naturally in our brains. So that's where the pattern
Mm.
recognition, the heightened senses, we get overwhelmed with loud sounds, all of this. Like, you know, all of the sensory overload, but the bonus to that is I think our brains are constructed in a way that makes them a great receptor for that spiritual side of things because we have that flood of DMT always coursing. My poor sweet wife is the only neurotypical person in our household, and she would make comments of, she'd say, "Oh, but your brain, it's so magical what you can do." And I'm like, "Yes, and I can't eat unless the right spoon is available." So, like, there's pros and cons. There's,
And did you buy
oh,
20 of that spoon? Because that's what I used to tell my clients'
yeah,
parents to do, right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But it's interesting
Um,
too, because even being a parent, when I found shoes that my child liked, I actually bought
wow.
multiple versions of that shoe in increasing
Mhm.
sizes, only because I knew how hard it
Yes,
was to find shoes for that were comfortable, and that he'd actually want to
yes.
wear. And even now, he'll happily wear flip-flops over. It's like freezing cold at the moment because it's in winter here in Australia when we're recording this, and he's outside wearing board shorts and flip flops, going for a walk around the neighborhood. And he's like, I'm cold. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. And it's just so interesting. How you bring that up about the brain chemistry, because I remember many years ago, many years ago, probably over 20 years ago, and they were just doing some research to do the mapping of the brain, and they were showing the differences between the gray matter and white matter ratios. I can't remember what exactly it was
Mhm.
now, and I thought, how interesting that the brain is actually different. Like, what does that
Yeah,
mean? And
right. Mhm.
yeah, and it's really, and it's funny because I have this one client that's popping in my head, and he came in for his session, and his parents are like, "Oh, he won't sleep at night in his own room." And I said to him, "Have you asked him why?" And they said, "No." And I said, I'm like, so I'm there with this client, right? He's like 6 or 7, and I said to him, "What happens at night?" He goes, "Oh, someone comes into my room." And I said, "Yeah, and they don't feel nice, do they?" He's like, "No, and they won't leave." And I was like, "Yeah, that's not very fair, is it?" And he goes, "No, and they just keep bugging me, and they're not very nice people, but they don't come when I'm near my parents." And I was like, "Yeah." And then his parents are like, "Oh, he's making up." I said, "No, he's not." I actually stopped them. I'm like, "Stop
Yes.
it." And so and I'm having this conversation, and at the end I was like, okay, this is what you need to do. And I told the parents, like, you need to go home, you need to smudge the space. I said, whether you believe this or not, just go with it, because he needs to sleep. I said, you need to do this, it'll
Yeah.
protect his space, and it'll do more than what you know. These are the words you need to say, because I got that intuitively. And I said, you need to do this every couple of months when he's sleeping, goes backwards again. And then I said to
Yeah.
him, there's not, you are seeing what you're seeing. It's true. It's, just validating it, because so often, and I know because it happened to my son. So my son used to talk to angels all the time. And this one
Mhm.
kid at school said to him, angels aren't real. And that was enough to him to start doubting what he saw. And I was so angry. And he's slowly coming back to it now, because my husband and I talk about it all the time. And we'll go to bed
Yeah.
at night, and he's always surrounded by angels. I said, "What color angels can you see?" Because we see them as like little colored globes. And he's like,
Yeah.
but people don't realize the impact of like disbelieving a child and how it
Yeah.
can turn them off, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know how we segued into this, but I love it.
We got here.
So, so you said you're the only
Yeah,
you're
and so that's
yeah, go. Yeah.
that's a lot of what the work that I do is to help people get back to that. It's to
Mm,
help them kind of wash off all of this mess that they've been handed over the years and go back to actually listening to their true self and trusting in that because they're taught their whole lives they're taught not to listen. And, you know, and helping them get back on that path. That's why I say, like, if I've done my job, you don't need me anymore, right? You can get back on you're there, you're walking, you're listening to you. You don't need to listen to me. You can listen to you. So that's kind of the whole point of returning back to that when we were children and we just didn't question. Of course this is what it is, you know? And yeah,
ex-
that's where I like to see people get back to.
I know, and it's such a beautiful state when people do get back to that balance. It's
Exactly.
even it's I wouldn't say it's balance because you actually feel like yourself again because you're suddenly
Yeah.
not tuning out that inner wisdom and that voice and the intuition. Instead, you're actually trusting it and learning to move forward with it. And I love what you said too, Jenny, like you've done your job when they don't need you anymore, but yet those clients, when they want
Yeah.
to talk to somebody and come back to it and question more, they'll book into you straight away, right? Because they know that
Yeah.
you're a safe space
Absolutely.
and they know that you've
Yeah.
held them through this journey. And if they don't come back, great. If they do, that's amazing too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, how do you work with the beautiful souls that come and find you? What are some practices that you might do with them?
So I do a lot of things.
I know you do.
In the conscious realm, like working with the conscious mind, I do tarot reading, I do energy work, um, and I do spiritual development sessions. So for some people, that's a one-off, and for some people, they do my 3-month mentorship program. And there's kind of two ways that we use that. Sometimes they use it because they want to get back to themselves, and sometimes they use it because they've started to understand they have intuitive gifts of their own and they want to learn how to develop those. So I do that in the conscious realm. And then in the subconscious realm, I do clinical hypnotherapy. So for things like anxiety, self worth, fear of public speaking, fear of water, things like this that can be handled in a clinical sense, we go that route. And then on the more woo woo side of the hypnotherapy, I do the past life regressions. Which is wildly healing for my clients because a lot of times I'll work with them in all the other spaces and we're able to, deal with what's happening in this incarnation, but there's an issue or two that still hang around. And when we go into their past incarnations, that's where we find it and we can release it from there. And then they can go on and move forward in their journey. So being able to do that, but all of that is stuff that's unseen. So when I was able to bring in the aura photography, that was such a cool thing for me because I could show people, look, here's your energy. Like, and you can do before and afters. Like I'll do a before picture, they'll do a sound healing, I'll do an after photo so they can see how their vibration changed. And it's something tangible that they can walk away with because everything else I do is intangible. So this was a way to give them something physical they could have and hold and put on their fridge and look at and remind themselves, look how beautiful I am, every time they walk by.
I love that so much. I've always been interested in aura photography, like or spectral. What do
Yeah.
they call it? I can't think of the fancy name for it, but it's so fascinating and so beautiful. Like you said, it's like artwork in itself,
Yeah.
right? And it's just the human soul
Yeah.
radiating its energy out into the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. And how it changes and where it sits. And, I even did an experiment. I wanted to see if I could open my crown chakra and take a picture of it, right? Could I get a photo of what that looks like? And you can. It was wild. Like the things that you can see energetically, it's so cool to be able to share.
Yeah, I love that so much, and I love that it's that tangible kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I love that you do past life regressions as well, because so often a lot of people, they'll try and blame things on past life regressions, but sometimes you need to I always say, start with this life and then go backwards,
Yes.
because until you
Yeah.
unpack as much as you can in this life, and it's not that you'll be fully done with this life, it just, you'll get to a point where you get pulled further back, and you're like, okay, this is a soul wound, and this is
Yeah.
where we need to go
Yeah.
deeper and go into the incarnations at whatever point in time that they're happening.
Absolutely. The patterns that we can release in there are really powerful.
Exactly. Have you had any, I just feel to ask this, what has been the craziest past life experience you've guided somebody through?
So I've had a few off-planet ones. I've had a few underwater ones.
Mm.
One of the wildest things that happened, I had a client and they were some kind of humanoid creature. It was way, way back, like they were in a cave and they looked mostly like a human, but they had really long hands. And so we were going through all of this and they were watching a cave-in that killed their parents in that life. And as the cave was crumbling, I'm in New Hampshire. As the cave was crumbling, there was an earthquake, and
Oh,
I'm on the top floor of my office building. So I don't know that there's an earthquake going on, right? So they're telling me, they're crying, and they're telling me that this cave is crumbling, and my windows are shaking, and I'm like, what is happening right now? But it just coincided that moment exactly when that earthquake hit. So it was really kind of a fun coincidence. They didn't notice, they were under hypnosis, but it was kind of wild for me. I was like, "Did they just shake my building? Like, what what happened?" So that was a pretty cool one.
oh, I love that when nature aligns with what you're doing. I
Yeah,
had that.
yeah,
I was having a session with my spiritual mentor, and we were clearing something. And I work a lot with water spirit, and she knows that anyway. And we were clearing something, and it was raining, and the rain was getting harder and harder, like as I was going deeper into this like multi-layered thing. She goes, if there is thunder and lightning next, I'm going to like be really cranky at you. And then sure enough, it was like thunder and lightning, and then she's like, oh my goodness, stop
yeah.
it. So it's funny,
No.
yeah, but it's because we're so entwined with nature, right? The elements can work that way. I've done work with elements too, where
Yeah.
the wind will come to help you clear something, and then
Oh,
it will
yeah.
come the other way, and you cannot explain it. There was no wind around. Like, how do you explain that? So
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but that is incredibly trippy, but also how powerful, like that, that happened at the
Yeah.
same time. Like, I feel that that's significant of,
Yeah.
okay, we're really breaking down, like almost breaking down walls
Yes.
to get
Yeah,
to heal this
literally. Yeah.
pattern. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how did this is the question next. How did you find that? How did you come into aura photography? Was it just something you were curious about, or you just wanted something tangible for your clients?
So I got one done years ago. And it started me thinking, I got to walk away with this. I got to walk away with this piece of being able to see my energy. Where else can you do that? There's really you can have people tell you what they feel around you. And so it was this thing of like, I'm not telling you anything. I'll interpret the colors, but you can see right here all of this around you, this is your energy. Like, and I'll have people come back to me a month or two later and do another one and see if it shifted and, oh, I'm pregnant, and then they won't tell me until I take the picture, and then they're like, look, no, I'm pregnant, look at the baby. Like, so they get to see all of these different kind of phases in their lives, and it just was something really cool that people could have, and that was very attractive to me.
I love that you can see the
Because
baby. That's so cool.
yeah, yeah, and you can so much of this our rational minds fight against, right? So you can have a past life regression, and even if you're having a really visceral emotional reaction to what's happening during the regression, 3 weeks from now, you can talk yourself out of, "Oh, I really experienced that." But if you have this photo, it's there. Like, you can't undo it, right? You can't talk yourself out of it. You're looking at it. And that was really I liked that.
Yeah, and I feel that's such a important point you bring up too, Jenny, that so often our brain wants to default to the comfortable and go back to the patterns and the beliefs and everything that we needed. And this is what makes people immune to change, right? Because it's like, but this is
Yeah.
scary, it's new, and I don't know. but it's just because you don't know. It's not scary because it's scary. It's scary because you just don't know yet where you're heading. And,
Exactly.
and it's funny because I'm the person that runs towards it. It's like, oh yeah, like another level of healing. Let's go. I don't want to deal with this crap again another lifetime. Let's go.
Yeah, and once you understand that, I feel like we do that, right? We're like,
Yes,
"Yes, check, 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 next. Let's just get it done."
exactly.
Yeah,
And
but all my clients, we reach a point in the spiritual development, mentorship, we always reach a point and they're like, "This is really scary and I don't wanna do this." And I said, "I know, and this is the point everyone reaches where they quit
exactly.
because it's frightening." The difference is you're still pushing, you're still trying to grow, you're still trying to understand, you're still diving deeper. That's what's gonna help you move forward where other people get stuck.
Yeah.
Because everyone hits that point multiple times
ex-
of being scared, and you just do it anyway.
Exactly. I'm that person. I'm the person that does it anyway
Yeah,
because I just think, you
yeah,
know, and my spiritual mentor and I, we used to joke and say like, why do you want to come back and do this again? Like why would you want to go back and start again and have to do all these lessons again when you're so close to the end of it? Like why not just
yeah.
keep pushing through? And as crap as it is, when
Yes.
you get to the other side, you're like, huh, that was really crap, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was when I was in it, because that's,
Yeah,
it's that whole image of kind of
perception.
like when you're in the middle of the storm, it feels really scary, but then on the other side of it, and when the storm passes and the beautiful rainbow comes out and then it does feel like that once you
Yeah,
get to the other side. And
yeah.
there was something else I was going to ask you.
Then you get to take a vacation life as a cat.
Do you know, in one of my past lives, I was a whale, and I was doing this breathwork session, and I was a whale again, and it was really funny because this whale was showing me things that it probably shouldn't be showing me, and I was like, "Thank you, whale. I appreciate this, but we need to leave now." And it was like, and I came home, and my husband's like, "How was your breathwork session?" I said, "Oh yeah, it's great. I did this and this, and I was a whale for a little bit." He's like, "You were a what?" It's like, yeah, I was a whale. I was like, they're the cephalopods of the
That's
ocean. Like I was a whale. And it's
okay.
just and you're an old soul when it doesn't even phase you, right? Like it's just like you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
and even as a child, you just knew that not to talk about. You just learned to talk
Mhm.
about it. And I feel I was at that point too.
Yeah,
It took me longer to come back to myself, but I was always quite intuitive. And then it's funny because then when you choose to come out of the spiritual woo-woo closet and you're full in your
yeah.
element, then you find out things about your family that no one wants to talk about. I don't know if that happened for you too.
Yeah. No,
Oh, it
no.
happened.
My family is completely buttoned up in that regard, yeah.
Oh, my mum was on the phone to me after I was telling her I was selling my company, and that was kind of my dark night of soul moment. But all these things. And she's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. There's white witch in our family." I was like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh yeah, your great great grandmother, like on the Irish side. That's why like we're all so intuitive and we just know things." And I was like,
Oh,
"What?"
yeah.
And then my
I love
cousin
it.
and then my cousin started to have a spiritual awakening. She started doing sound healing and all these weird
Mhm.
things were happening. And she rang my sister. And my sister's like, "Oh, you need to talk to Catherine." And so my cousin rings me up and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know why, but like your sister said to call you." And I said, "Oh." I said, "Let me tell you what I've been doing the last few years." And she's like, "No." And she goes, "I would never have thought you would say that because I was always the very intellectual academic type, right? But in the end, it was like, no, this is actually who I am." And she's just like,
Yeah,
"Oh my." And then I'm telling her the history of our family, and she's just like, "What?" You know? But,
yeah.
but,
And I feel like that goes back to that witch wound, right?
hmm hmm yeah.
There's, I don't know if you've read Celeste Larson's book, Heal the Witch Wound.
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend it. Beautiful book. Wonderful for all of that.
It's funny because I knew my witch wound was because I did a lot of meditations and I went and met my soul parents and they're like, "You're here to actually heal without hiding." That was the message. Heal without
Yeah.
hiding.
Yeah.
And you have to be seen and heard. And so I started a podcast because I was like, I need to blow open my throat chakra. So let's just do a podcast where we can talk woo all we want and people will tune in or they won't tune in. And I've never been so in
Yeah.
my element, like getting to talk to you, Jeni, about being a witch.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's funny because years ago, I had this brief tryst with the person and he messaged me. He's like, "Are you a witch?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" And then now I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Because he
I
had
get it.
this dream about me and he's like, "Are you a witch?" And I'm like, "No, what are you talking about?" Like at the time I had no idea, but now I'm like, "Oh, yes, you were correct. I am." So, but I feel too like a lot of people misconstrue, that's the word I want, what a witch is, because when you actually look up what a witch
Yeah.
is, it just means you're involved with the elements in nature and truly an intuitive being. And even when you look up all the witch persecution, it was anyone that worked with herbs or worked with nature or just defied the church. They were labeled as a
A lot
witch.
of it was
Yeah.
a lot of it was women who owned land and who wouldn't give over.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I love the movement of they didn't burn witches, they burned women. Like, so many of them were just women who wouldn't roll over for the evolving patriarchy. But, I mean, all a witch is someone who's aware of their own energy and who's able to work with that and who can see the connections and the energy between other people and the natural world. It's so simple.
Exactly. And pretty much that's the definition of being human. And it's just
Right. Could be.
we've turned off that connection, and I think that's
Yeah.
such a powerful reminder because we all have these gifts. It's just whether you choose to turn them on or not. They don't always look exactly the same, which is why we need each other. This is why we've been designed
Right.
this way, because we're all unique. But at the same time, we all have gifts. And people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want to do what you can do." I'm like, "Well, you can." Like it might not look exactly the
Yeah.
same, but you have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I tell my clients, some people are Mozart, some people just play the piano, some people are Picasso, some people finger paint. Like, find where you shine and follow that. Like, that's part of that intuitive path. Everybody's got a piece of it. Just find yours.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm going to use that for people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeni. Um, and as we start to finish our time together, I ask the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Empathy. I want everyone to have true empathy. I think it would shift and change everything.
Yeah. And also, I would add to that compassion, right? Because, sometimes the
Yeah.
empathy part's okay. But then when you add that compassion, that's where you really come from a place of love. And when I say love, it's not the lovey dovey love that we've been taught about love. It's just that
Right.
unconditional acceptance of everything, really.
Yeah. And when you have that true empathy of being able to put yourself in the shoes of the person in front of you, I think it bears out that compassion because
Agreed.
you want to do that for them, you know? Yeah, I
100%.
think that would just move everything forward at lightning speed.
Agreed. And I feel it would also make people more curious and less judgmental. I love that quote from Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
um, and if people want to come and work with you, Jeni, or find out more about you, where can they connect?
My website's the best option, so it's hearthmagic shop.com. So it's hearth like a fire hearth and magic magick hearthmagicshop.com. It has all my information on there. You can book a session. I do everything I do remotely except for the aura photography. So I can connect with anyone from anywhere.
Beautiful. That's funny because that was one of my questions that I forgot to ask you, if you can do it online, and you already answered it. So thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And it's funny because we say it hearthmagicshop.com. So
Oh, do you?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, fix that then.
No, that's okay. You can have the American version, everyone listening, and the Australian
Yeah,
twang version. So beautiful. And I will make sure it's
there you
correct
go.
when we do the little notes that come up and pop up on the on the subtitles. So thank you so much, Jeni. This has been a delight. I love talking to you. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.